This is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, with Kreese, Mino, and Mark, bringing you all your Defo news and talk. Welcome to Season 3, the Chaos Era. Now let's start the show.
Hey everybody, we are on the other side of our global first Commodore Aranea Highwind. I'm sure by this point you've already all drawn and all either pitied or are gnashing your teeth because you didn't get her, or are already enjoying the spoils of the global first, the second global first. We'll talk a lot more about her and a whole bunch of things on tonight's very, very busy show. This is the Crystal Chronicles. Welcome all of you joining us on Twitch. We have a great crowd tonight. I appreciate every single one of you making the time to be here with us live. We enjoy that quite so much. Thank you for everybody who's subbed, resubbed, Hate13, Jake, Arrow, just tonight. Thank you very much. Stray Beat after the show last week cheered. 1,000 bits. Thank you, Stray. Appreciate that a lot as well. All of you watching video on demand, YouTube, all of you listening to the podcast, welcome. We are so glad to be your source for Dissidia Final Fantasy news and talk. And as of right now, the only Dissidia Final Fantasy, as NT is pulling the plug and it will no longer be updated. Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia is your ongoing Dissidia Final Fantasy game. Well, it's not just me, your host, Mark. I am also joined by my co-hosts. You know them. You love them. First, his name is Mino Spellgood. Mino, how you doing?
Hey, Mark. Doing okay. Pretty tired for some reason. Actually, that's nothing new. So, the usual.
Yes. You have to learn how to eat better, sleep more, make good decisions. Now, speaking of good decisions, I'm joined by my other co-host who's waiting for dinner. If you're listening, if you're the pizza place, hey, put the Twitch on the phone, get in the car, get Kreese's pizza. And his name is Kreese. Kreese, how you doing?
I am feeling very lucky because I just got both EX weapons on my free banner pull.
Ooh,
so
nice.
I can't complain about luck for a little while.
Nice. Lucky on the EXs, not so lucky on the pizza. Hey, we're also joined by another guest, a special guest. You may know him from the Tonberry Troupe. He's all the way in France, very early in the morning, I believe. So please say bonjour to our bon ami, and his name is Dreamy. Dreamy, how you doing?
Bonjour, and thank you for having me. I'm doing
very good. We are glad to have you here with us tonight. And we always enjoy the work that the Tonberry Troupe does. Of course, we've had the Tonberry King himself, Inkwelder, on with us several times. So we appreciate and look forward to all the work Dreamy does. If you don't know, Dreamy does a lot of the media work and a lot of the graphic design work behind those beautiful infographics. So we do appreciate everything that he does. And they just did a stream on their Twitch channel when they were actually creating the Aranea infographic. So go check that out if you can. It's probably still up there. It was a lot of fun to watch and to listen to. Hey, there is some...
The other thing Dreamy is well known for, by the way, is making those nightmare character hybrids and posting them to Reddit. I don't think he's done it in a little while, but he did that quite a bit in the past.
Yes.
Which one? Because it cut at the beginning and you didn't hear that.
I didn't catch that, Dreamy. You're kind of cutting in and out. I don't know if you're pushed to talk or if it's just...
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear Kreese the first time.
Yes. Are we having some connection issues? Or let me see.
Oh.
Check that. I don't think so. So yeah, so
I'm
Kreese.
having.
No, go ahead, Dreamy.
Oh, sorry. No, I said I am having three connections on Discord, so it seems to be fine.
Okay, great. Well, let's first. I have to shout out another member of our community, and his name is Dirge of Elliot. And you may have seen, I'm going to put this up on the screen for all of you who are watching. You may have seen this beautiful comic that Dirge of Elliot did, talking about, it's kind of inspired by Marv Barnes 90, Dimensions End Entropy Tier 4 solo run with Zack recently. And so Dirge of Elliot kind of created this beautiful artwork comic, kind of walking through that solo run and kind of memorializing that for us. And so that's on Reddit. You can check out Dirge of Elliot on Reddit and check out the beautiful image. And it's also on our Discord. But I just wanted to share his good talent and really cool there. Really cool talent and really cool thing doing for the community. And so we look forward to maybe some other things that Dirge is going to do for the community and more like that. So thank you, Dirge, for all of that. That was very, very cool. We do go to news of the day. Now, unfortunately, we do not have a Aranea Highwind costume available. Missed opportunity, Squex. I know Joshua doesn't get to make those decisions, or he'd probably have given us one. But there is the Noctis Prince costume available if you have not purchased it before. Also, the Rinoa party dress costume is available before. And yes, the Emerald Bard, you have 4 beautiful Aranea Highwind emote stickers ready to purchase, I believe, for 300 Dissidia points each. Certainly, I've purchased all 4 of mine, and they are pretty cool. Of course, Nice Work Cadets is certainly one of them. There is also an ongoing weekly gem sale, as there has been, and you can get your ingot packages through the end of the month. So those are as well 500 Dissidia points. I don't know how much those. But yes, those are the current sales on right now. Now, let's go back for the last week, the conversations we had last week, which were, of course, around the new character we got, Ignis, and also the returning character who got an EX Realization, Zack. So Kreese has actually just got food, so I know he's eating. But Mino and Dreamy are with us here. So let's talk Zack and Ignis. Now I have both purpled. I've been using them a lot. Zack, of course, is everything he was meant to be. He is very, very powerful. Great tank ability to take all kinds of damage and dish it back. But I've been surprised by how much I really enjoy playing Ignis. Oh, those 2 words are too close. Iggy. Yes, Iggy has been a joy to play. I like the ability to switch between his different stances to bring him to a whole bunch of different content. He seems to fit well with a whole bunch of different team comps. And certainly he's really fun to play in Synergy. But even outside of Synergy, I've been finding him a lot. Yes, ingots for Ignis. Say that 7 times fast, I dare you. So Mino, Dreamy, any things you've come up with from Zack or Iggy that you wanted to share? Mino, you want to go anything?
Let's let our guest go first. So, Dreamy, what's your experience with Zack so far?
Well, as expected, he is really strong. I was incredibly impressed by the damage on his EX. Like, I knew it was multi-hitting HP, but I didn't expect it to be that strong. But yeah, the only issue being that it's magical, so on some stages it might cause a problem for him. I think I don't know what stage I did lately. One of the late chaos we got, one of them was, oh yeah, no, actually that was on the story chapter. I think there was a level where magic was resisted, and his EX wasn't really strong there, but otherwise, yeah, absolutely amazing. But in co-op, though, having 3 Zack stealing off the taunts with Chain Slash was not.
Yeah, that was not the most fun experience. His EX is not magic, is it? It's physical, isn't it?
No, it's magic.
Oh, it's magic.
No, it's magic. Yeah.
Interesting. I
You
guess
don't listen to your own podcast. We talked about that last
Didn't I do his character evaluation? I've been playing with the character all week. I can't believe I
Yeah.
I
In fact,
swore
I
it was
remember
physical.
one of the biggest attractions I had to say about him was that his EX is like half of the damage from his kit, so he really is a mixed type damage. So you can't bring him to magic resist fights anymore because that really cuts his damage in half.
Yeah, and did you know too that his EX is basically the same as Ultimacia? Well, just by name.
in terms of
Which is the same skill, basically.
Yeah,
It's Apocalypse, it's the same.
yeah, mechanically it works.
But yeah, it doesn't create free turn, sadly. Would it be?
Yeah, mechanically it does work similar to Charlotta in that it does damage based on other characters' current brave, right? So yeah, I know I like.
Oh yeah,
it.
no, I was talking about Zack. But
Yeah. Oh, Zack. Yeah, Zack's Apocalypse, right?
yeah,
Is yeah, very similar to Ultimacia, but it does not give him all the free turns. That would just be ridiculous if Zack got all those free turns. So, yeah. Well, anything else on Zack or Ignis? It's going to be one of those nights.
Zack is an amazing tank. I've been loving using him for the past week and a half. He's really just kind of been there to take hits and let my other characters deal as much damage as they need to.
Yeah, he kind of, his spotlight didn't last very long, did it? With Aranea jumping in. And of course, we're going to talk Aranea here in some detail. But, I think we would have been talking a lot more about Zack this week if we didn't have a global first who is just kind of blowing him out of the water. Now, completely different characters, and they're both going to be super useful, right? But I think we'd be talking a lot more about Zack before and after this week if Aranea was not an issue. I think Zack would have been the dominating force of our conversation. So he's great, and if you got him, great. If you still are looking for a good tank, he's an amazing option. You could argue that he is really the best character in the game right now. Now that's up for debate, but he's certainly one of the best characters in the game right now, and he does amazing damage and amazing utility and amazing defense. So yeah, he's a great character all around. But I think the surprise, at least for me, is how fun I have found Iggy to play and how useful I found him on a various number of different teams. So I don't regret purpling him. I know most people have not, but hey, why not go all in? All right, well, that brings us back to the other topic from last week, which was Arc 2, Chapter 7, Act 2, Chapter 7. No, that's right, Arc 2 or Act... No, it's Act 2, right? Chapter 7. And the Chaos Battle, which we really kind of introduced, but we didn't really go through because we hadn't played it. So the first wave is the... Shinra, the big snake thing, right? The Plains Gorger. And he has tons of debuffs. He does this terrible big AoE debuff. I think all the debuffs last for 8 turns at 4 or 5 or even 6 debuffs. Really big pain in the butt. So you really do. Now you can get through without a debuff evader or a debuff cleanser like Yuna, but certainly having Iggy there, having Lena there. Who else am I forgetting for debuff evasion? Yuna for the cleanse, but definitely having a Shinra. Shinra's a different enemy. Shinru, yeah, something like that. The Plains Scourger. It started with Shin, right? But hey, that's next. That's Arc 3. Is Selfie would be an option as well. But then it goes to the big dragon and Sephiroth. And the second wave has a ton of HP attacks and a lot of AoE HP attacks, but a lot of single target HP attacks, of course. And you have Zack there as your good AoE tank. He's not tanking AoE damage, but tanking everybody. So, of course, you saw a lot of Zacks in this. Now looking at Macnol's Called Arms, MACNOL on Reddit, or you can just look at our links. You see a lot of Zacks, a lot of Iggies, and a lot of Araneas. But what did you guys think of the fight with Aranea? It wasn't much of a fight, but with some other team comps, what did you guys think? Mino?
Well, I think Ignis made it breathe, really. But yeah, I didn't try anything outside of debuff evasion. It made it pretty.
It would have been much more difficult without debuff evasion, but it is possible. I see several team comps here. 8 Lock Ico, Zack Sarah Locke, Zack Golbez Yishtola, Zack King Rosa. I'm trying to think some without debuff
I'll
evasion.
mention that I did this without Ignis since I didn't pull for Ignis.
Yeah.
I instead used a team of Ishtola, Zack, and Aranea. So I waited for Aranea before I did it, number one. And number two, the debuffs from the first wave were really obnoxious. It was a pain in the butt, especially with Zack having to constantly lose his buffs during the fight, since he has so many generics. But Aranea kind of made up for that by just crushing everything.
The turn count is a little tight in this Chaos fight, and so I do see several, including, I believe, Von Novus. Vane, he used Zack, Ultimisha, Rosa, Fires also used that to get 6/9s max score with that, and several other people as well. So you see that in terms of wanting max score pre-Aranea. Zack, Ultimisha, Rosa really were able to come through on that, right? Yeah, this is God of Cloud 9. This is the story Chaos. Zack, Emperor, Lena. Great team set up for that God of Cloud 9. I need to drink some more coffee too, Mino.
Are you drunk?
I maybe. I don't know.
Just messing with you, Mark. Holy crap.
I haven't had anything to drink at all. But anything else?
I will make one more notice. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, no, please.
Remember that if you want to do this story Chaos as a co-op, you have about 5 or 6 more days as of the time of this recording to do it. There's the 2-week window on the co-op being available for the story stuff. So if you want to do it co-op, you got to do it soon. Otherwise, the co-op is going to go away. Note that the Chaos will still be there. The rewards will still be there. It's just the co-op opportunity will be gone.
Thank you, Kreese. That is a good reminder. Yes, you have a limited time to do this Chaos co-op on the story. Now, if you are looking for help with that co-op, maybe you're a newer player or just haven't been playing as dedicated as some of us, then feel free to jump on our Discord. You can go to tccpodcast.com, join our Discord. There's links to it in all the show notes as well. And find a group of people that can help you through that so you can get those limited time rewards, and then you'll be able to move forward. But you can always go back to it by yourself later. Just the limited time rewards disappear. But pretty easy, I think, with a couple of us. We could probably get through anybody with Aranea and Zack and several others. So, well, that wraps up kind of the retrospective from last week. Thank you all for, helping us during the week and play testing and all that kind of stuff. Moving forward, especially as we have characters who we may not pull for, it's really going to be important for us to get a sense of your experience with the characters so that we can go back and say, hey, look, it's a week later. Zack and Iggy are really shining, really doing great. Here's what you can expect. But what we really want to talk about today is the one and only, the new global first character that launched just a few days ago, and that is Aranea Highwind, her event, Commodore of the Skies, which brought us not only Aranea and her full kit and full EX realization, but an early Noctis EX realization. So Kreese is going to walk us through these two kits and Noctis's EX realization, and we will be able to talk from all of us, I'm sure, various different ideas and opinions and experience with these characters, especially Aranea, and this event. So, Kreese, why don't you just walk us through the basics of the characters first, then we'll jump to the podcast polls, and we'll go from there.
Let's touch on Noctis first, since he's a little easier, and all he got was his EX realization for this event. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay, so I'm not going to go through each level by level on what he gets, but basic idea is that Noctis gets a lot of improvements to his EX ability, some stat increases, a couple new ways to inflict point-blank warp, and also free ability uses. Fully realized, Conjure Armiger becomes a 2 HP attack. It inflicts point-blank warp to all enemies. It deals splash damage and can deal more splash damage if you're targeting an enemy that is already afflicted by point-blank warp. And Noctis starts with buffs, primarily his Armiger buff, a couple stacks of it, and Armiger provides more attack and max brave while it is on Noctis. In general, Noctis gets some nice bonuses. He gets some improved longevity. He gets a little bit of a faster start since he starts with 2 stacks of Armiger now. The other thing I forgot to mention is that at the beginning of every wave, he also inflicts point-blank warp to all targets, so he gets up to speed a lot faster. I think his biggest downside, however, is that he's still pretty limited by the number of brave hits he does on attacks. When using his plus ability, Shooting Star Plus or Warp Strike Plus, there are 4 brave hits each, separated across 2 HP attacks. Conjure Armiger has a lot of brave hits, and the fact that it now has Brave Overflow and it's split across 2 HP attacks makes it better. But he's also in the shadow of our second global first, which just kind of blows him out of the water. He still has his uses, but I think he's just going to be heavily overshadowed by Aranea being present and being on the same banner.
Yeah, do we want to talk about him a little bit before we get to Aranea, or do you just want to cover her first? Because I think, I don't know, did anybody of the 4 of us invest in Noctis? I have him fully limit broke, but I did not realize him at this point. I realized King, I realized Aranea. I didn't really see the point in realizing Noctis at this point. But did anybody else have a different kind of opinion? Thank you, Telut. Teliut. For the subscription and the shout out to Dreamy. Appreciate it. Not to Mino, though. Screw him. And Tatsumi X, thank you. He said I 3-3'd both. So, yeah, tell us your experience in chat about Noctis. But anybody else, Mino, Kreese, Dreamy, invest in Noctis post-realization?
I always have something to say, but Dreamy, do you have anything to add first?
Nothing more. I just realized him for the ingot. Right now, I think he's very shadowed by Aranea being himself a ranged attacker, and pretty much Chris said his debuff duration point blank warp is too low. It's only 3 turns. You have to manage him a lot. Be mindful of enemy turns and your own plus skills. Like Chris said, his brave count is way low, and his X plus isn't a saving grace for me to use him, especially with.
I will say that I also booked Noctis, and I think there's going to be situations where he's going to shine, especially when you can take advantage of the turn manipulation, the launches, the fact he has a small speed up aura and a small max brave aura is very nice. It helps a little bit for his allies. Point blank warp does provide a small defense down bonus, and since it's framed and unique, it stacks with other forms of defense down, which is always nice against chaos bosses. But he does have the downside where Conjure Armiger is a melee attack and everything else is range, so he has to deal with 2 type resistances as a potential thing that can hurt him pretty hard.
Yeah, Tetsumi is saying
yeah.
he's better now, but yeah, he's no Aranea. So, Mino, what were you going to say?
Well, I actually have a lot to shit on Noctis for, but basically, I don't think this was mentioned a lot in the community because I guess or the people were in the know, but Noctis is here 2 months early.
Yeah.
He is the first time traveler we have of the EX Plus era, and damn, is he underwhelming. Okay, so first of all, in the original timeline, he was written off as dead on arrival.
Yeah,
2 months from now,
he came on the Phoenix. He came on the Phoenix Cave event, which brought Noctis EX Realization and Selfie's rework and EX Realization on a special event banner that most likely we're not going to get. So, but as you just said, in Japan, the feeling was he was pretty much dead on arrival. But we've got him 2 months early, so keep going.
So yeah, so he's still awful. I feel like, well, first of all, we'll get to this later, but his most damning thing was coming with Aranea, and she does almost everything he does, but better. I think the only thing she truly lacks is true turn manipulation, but she's fast enough, and with her breaks, you can manage it. And launches. And launches are nice to have in your pocket, but not worth bringing the character for just that. As Dreamy and Kreese have said, low turn count hurts. I have the same problem with him as I do Sabin, which is basically the plus moves are great, or they're slightly above average from what we're used to right now, but the normal moves are pretty damn awful, honestly. They're correct me if I'm wrong here. 3 hits, Kreese. The
if he
version?
has Armiger up, yes, there are 3 brave hits each.
So
it's
oof. Well, I mean, I'm gonna assume he's always gonna have it up because if you 3-3 him, he starts with it, and there's the buffs and stuff. But let's assume he always has it up. It's 3 brave hits, which is meh right now in terms of DPS, because if you look at all the other meta DPS dealers, like if you still want to count ulti in there, if you want to talk about Emperor, lots and lots and lots of hits. Even 8 has more hits. Golbez has more hits. Like, it's just really sad at this point. Coming 2 months early is wow. I can't even believe how bad he'd be on a normal.
His EX realization only his EX attack only dumps HP twice now. It used to only dump HP once. Now it does it twice. But we have characters that are dumping HP 3 times in their EX attack. So
right, like Zack. Like
Zack,
or I mean Zack
Golbez,
is the double
Rinoa tonight.
dump. That's even better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But God, he has so many problems because, as we said with the plus unplus version, he's just reaching that territory. I'm not going to say he's as bad as Alize, but like a Sabin level of this is too much to work around. Like, very tempo character because he has to keep switching between the big burst and not having it. And I know that Kreese earlier today, he was theorizing teams that would make Noctis work. And then halfway through, he's like, this is so much effort to make this character work. You can just plug Aranea in his spot and have a better team in almost any instance. So holy
crap. Who was theorizing this?
You, I thought. Wasn't it?
No, I wasn't discussing that.
Somebody was talking about teams to make Noctis work and then saying, wait, that's too much effort. I could have sworn it was you.
No, it wasn't me. I don't know who it was.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll look back. But somebody in our channels was saying that. And I just agree. I think this is a very easy weak rating because he's not even a first wave pick now, let alone a few weeks or a month from now. I don't know. I think I was arguing with Jin Lee too. Jin Lee said that he feels like Noctis is objectively better than King. I disagree. Maybe slightly because of turn manipulation and launches, but not enough that I would actually want a 3-3 Noctis.
Well, I think obviously Noctis has a lot more options in terms of what he can do. Now, I mean, King does have some break mechanics that are nice too, but it would be interesting to see just over time what their damage per turn really ended up being in a similar situation with similar support, similar help. Who would really, would one character be doing damage consistent? Well, obviously King is doing damage consistently. So is Noctis able to burst better? Is Noctis able to do more up front in quicker fights, or is Noctis able to last longer? I think that's probably not true at all. But if anybody wants to do that research and write it up for us, we'll share it on the show.
For my opinion right now, I will say I'll concede to Jin Lee that I think Noctis might be a slightly marginally better pick, because the damage is a little lower per hit, but he has launches, he has turn manipulation, that can really add up. He has some splash as well on his EX and the double HP dump, but it's just I don't know. As somebody who's already 3-3 King, King has the longevity. I think that's the only thing that I'll give him. But I'm just saying, I think you could pick either or if you're hurting for a ranged DPS. And this is not even talking about Aranea, which we'll get to, which pretty much trivializes both of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think that's very safe to say. Aranea is kind of blowing everybody out of the water. So
I wanted to say, if he came early even without Aranea, I'd struggle to give him a great rating, but especially because of Aranea, this is a weak pick for sure. I mean, and even if it was a good pick, it'd be for range DPS only. All the other Zack is a better DPS at this point, I think. Like, you want to bring Noctis for the utility, and his utility is average at best, I think. Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I don't think you need to really rely on launches at this point. And if you do, Tifa's a better DPS launcher, to be honest. Like, you would want to specifically want his combination of consecutive turns after the EX, or was it the free ability? He does a little bit of everything. But
yeah, well, I mean, I think Kreese said this as well as we were talking this week. I mean, I enjoyed playing Noctis. Somebody else may have said something different, but I enjoyed playing Noctis throughout Cosmos. I do enjoy his kind of shenanigans and his play style. He's really good for quick fights. You can get him done, although, again, Aranea is really, really good for quick fights. So, but put that aside, he does have an interesting play style, and you can play him I think he's a character that you can learn, like a lot of characters, you can learn to play better and better and better. That being said, he's certainly not top tier compared to a lot of other damage dealers, and certainly a lot of other manipulative characters like Emperor, who has, between turn traps, and Ultimecia has all the free turns. Eventually we're going to have Vayne is going to get back in the mix of things and start manipulating turns. Leo is a turn manipulator. So, I mean, he struggles to compete with a lot of his EX Realization friends. Certainly he's not the worst EX Realization, but he's certainly not the best. Bright side is next time around he does come back up pretty strong.
I think the best way to put it is that to make Noctis work right now, you need to build a team around him, around taking advantage of his turn manipulation and his launches. And Aranea and King, for example, don't really need that as much. They can kind of get slotted into any team and do their thing. And that's kind of a ding against Noctis, because he needs that team planning. Whereas someone like King or Aranea, you can just say, okay, they'll be fine in this fight. We're good to go.
Great point.
Well, Kreese, I think we've held off long enough. Let's talk about the Commodore herself, Aranea Highwind, our global first, our second global first. Run us through her kit the best you can. We could be here all night talking about her kit. So hit the highlights as you were planning to, and we'll go from there. I'll share the podcast polls, and then we'll talk all about Aranea.
I will suggest that if you have not already and you're trying to figure out Aranea's kit, go check out the DFFOO Twitter videos for Aranea's kit that Joshua gave us. Those were pretty good and detailed on giving us all the information we needed.
Yeah,
I'm going to
thank
try
you.
to hit the highlights on how Aranea works. So Aranea has 3 unique buffs that she gets. Magitech Armament, which comes from her first ability, Dragoon Dive. It's a 6-turn buff. It gives her attack and max brave, speed, and brave regen while it is active. Her second buff, called Overclock, gives her an increase in attack, overflow limit, and also enables the plus version of her skills. She gets Overclock from multiple sources, breaking a target with any of her 3 skills, Dragoon Dive, Highwind, or Air Superiority. Using Air Superiority Plus gives her 2 extra turns on Overclock if it is already active, and her additional ability Set Overclock gives her 4 turns of Overclock. Note that her 2 base skills do not activate Overclock in their plus forms. You can only get Overclock from their base forms, not the plus forms. And her third buff comes from her EX ability Air Superiority. It is called High Speed Maneuver. It increases critical damage done, and it causes her to get an instant free turn if she breaks a target. So those are her 3 buffs. For the most part, she cannot maintain these indefinitely unless the fight is really short. Overclock requires additional ability and breaking targets. High Speed Maneuver is only 3-turn duration after using Air Superiority, but because of the free turns she can get upon breaking a target, coupled with the fact that Air Superiority is on a slow recast, she's not necessarily going to be able to maintain that 100% of the time. She also gets a unique debuff when she uses her second ability, Highwind, called Vital Crusher, which makes it so that all brave damage dealt to the target becomes critical, and it also increases all critical damage received. So that's her kit. That's the basics of her kit. She applies a lot of buffs that make it so she deals more critical damage. She gets empowered versions of her skills, and she gets free turns when breaking a target. The other thing that Overclock does is it gives her access to her Brave Plus and HP Plus abilities. Note that these are only active as long as Overclock is up, so she does not have any generic Brave Plus, HP Plus. If Overclock is not up, she just has her generic Brave and HP attacks. However, these Brave Plus and HP Pluses are very strong. I'm going to go straight to the realized versions of them because I really don't think it's worth talking about Aranea outside of her fully realized form. Boost Lance Plus is her Brave Attack Plus, which just gives her a small Brave gain and then deals 5 Brave hits to a single target. The big thing, though, is HP Attack Plus. High Boost Lance Plus is an AoE Brave attack followed by a single target HP attack that deals splash damage, and it deals 50% splash damage to other targets if the target is broken or if Aranea breaks the target. So she has very good AoE potential on an HP attack plus. Dragoon Dive, her first ability, along with providing Magitech Armament, it can also delay targets if she's using the plus version from Overclock. Highwind will always unbreak her primary target, along with applying Vital Crusher, which means that Highwind can always be used to activate Overclock if she does not already have it active, which is very strong. And Highwind deals AoE Brave hits followed by a single target HP attack, but also deals splash damage. 80% splash damage with the plus version, 50% splash damage with the base version. Air Superiority is an AoE Brave plus HP attack that deals full HP damage to all targets. Fully realized, this has 150% overflow. Okay, so 1 or 2 other things to mention about her kit. Aranea is highly crit dependent. If you look at her base attack potencies, which I believe Safina figured out already, her base attack potencies on her abilities are very low. Yep. However, all of them have a damage multiplier when Aranea is dealing critical hits, which drastically compensates for that low attack potency base. Aranea is designed around dealing critical hits, and if she cannot deal the critical hits, she's going to suffer. But her kit's designed to make critical hits very, very likely, even in cases where you can't break a target to get the critical hits. I think that's it for her kit. Did I miss anything?
Probably, because there is a whole bunch of stuff. But I think you did an excellent job explaining her kit, Crease. I want to hit the podcast poll real quick. Remember, you can go onto our Discord, and under podcasts, we have podcast polls. And thank you, Quetz, the creator of MateriaBot, for setting up those polls for us. So just a brief poll. Looks like a great number of the community ready to pity Aranea. A few of them just sending gems and tickets, and pretty much everybody who was going to get Aranea was going to fully realize her 3-3. Noctis, a little bit more all over the place. 13 keeping his EX, 9 just realizing, 1 using 2 Ignis, and 3 using 2 ingots as well. So yeah, so there's the podcast polls for those. So yeah, let's talk Aranea. Dreamy, do you have any experience with the Commodore?
Yeah, she's been really fun and amazing. I want just like I think everyone noticed something that two things that made me a bit itch as I work with visuals, like her EX animation or skill 2 animations are the same thing with changed angle, and that really makes me mad. And her portrait on the ATB is slightly, well, not slightly, very smaller compared to other characters. So yeah, fix those, please, Square Enix. But yeah,
Take off the
otherwise,
helmet
yeah,
while
she's
you're at it.
extremely. And yeah, remove the helmet, please. You have the model on the story, son. You can do that. Otherwise, yeah, in battle, she's amazing. Like, wow. Every everything of those details I just quoted were vanished the moment I tested her in battle, because her splash damage, her free turns, her animation. Like, I really love her HP plus animation, and she's been she's such a speedy character that does the job really well. I think she's extremely strong for um, global content right now, but as Chris said, potencies are very low. I think her EX is about the same potency as Sephiroth's Octash, to put into comparison. And in the long run, she might have issues only relying critical hits. But yeah, right now it's amazing. She's really fun. I would advise anyone to pull for her and try her out, because yeah, she's global first. Why wouldn't you want to try her out? It's something we didn't have foresight for. And it's really cool to try out different team comps. Like I'm a bit annoyed that Selfie didn't come along with
Oh
her,
man.
because yeah, Aranea has a really good synergy with Int Bravery, and she regens over 10k with the right comp, and she badly needs those for free turns where she wants to cap out with her HP plus, because her overflows are so high. And yeah, she really likes Int Bravery. Selfie would have been an amazing partner to have, but Ignis is really cool with her, which comes out really cool because they're both from Final Fantasy V. So
Yeah.
I am having real fun pairing them together.
Yeah, I think Iggy and Aranea work really well. We'll talk about another possible pairing here in a little bit, but obviously Rosa and Aranea work very well. Y'shtola and Aranea work really well. Regular Selfie without her realization and Aranea work really well. Yeah, she pairs well with pretty much. I mean, Lilizette and Aranea pair really well. Barrett and Aranea pair really well. Kamari and Aranea, like, I'm not sure that they're like, is there a team comp that we haven't seen work with Aranea? Like, who are the characters that just don't work with her very well? You could argue that maybe King with his break mechanics, or Vayne or Noctis with their kind of mechanics might just kind of get in the way. But even them, it just seems like she just gets around it. She just seems so powerful, even with maybe the low potencies. And I will say one thing that I'm sure we were going to talk about at some point. There's a lot of debate on best in slot arts right now for Aranea. She does have a C50 that is very good, that when she has that special overclock buff on, gives her attack, max brave, int brave, and defense up. And so obviously you can get a 2-star version of that artifact passive that does add to that. But the question is, she's doing so much damage, she's capping out. Obviously, we want to give her max brave 330 and not attack 108. And I think the conversation has been, well, perhaps right now when she's in synergy, fighting these enemies, but moving forward, getting to kind of the difficulty spike, the defense spike, the HP spike that we're going to see, perhaps Arciela, Leo, that era of chaos. She's definitely going to want that attack. So I'm just focusing on the attack right now. But obviously, if you love to grind arts and you want to have a few sets of each, mix and match. But yeah, so she's just been, I mean, she's obviously one of my favorite, probably my favorite character from 15. Really one of my favorite characters, period, right now. I just love her to death, and I love her mechanics. I love going in. I mean, we won't talk about the co-op too much because there's nothing to talk about, because if you go into the co-op, you can literally do it she can solo the co-op in one turn before anybody else can act by doing skill 2, then her AA, then skill 2, then skill 2 again, and she's just wiped the board. So the two other people, I love doing co-op because you usually don't, unless you're going first, you don't have to do anything. And if you're playing Noctis, you definitely don't have to do anything. And if for some reason you brought, who else was on this banner? Locke. If for some reason you brought Locke, you definitely don't have to. You just have to sit there, log in, take your rewards. Oh. Or yeah, Iggy can get in there. Yeah, so yeah, if somehow you're playing Iggy and you get to go first, then like take 17 turns. Just use you build up your EX. Just why the hell not? You control that. I think you deserve to do that. So, but she is so fun to play, and she's doing ridiculous damage. And as we've already talked about, Kreese mentioned her HP plus ability. Arguably the most powerful HP plus in the game right now. It is doing ridiculous amounts of damage, and she can.
I'm going to say
it.
burn and say that it's what Rinoa wishes her HP plus was.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. I was going to get to that as we talk about Rinoa later. That is, that was Rinoa's big selling point back in the Cosmos era. She had this really cool specialized HP plus that did single target damage and then splash damage, but it did so much damage. Now it cost her health every time she did it, and she could only do it a limited time, and she'd have to rebuild up and heal up and all that kind of stuff. And now she still does that moving forward with her realization, as we'll talk about later tonight. But Aranea just blows her out of the water. It is so powerful, especially with the crits, and especially paired with some really good synergy and support like Rosa, like Iggy, like a certain gentleman tonight. I think it's just going to be ridiculous damage. Yeah. Don't be sad for me, Cyrus. I'm gonna fully realize Rinoa either, and Dreamy and I are we're gonna go against the stream. I watched every Should You Pull video today about Rinoa Lost Chapter banner, and we'll bring it back. Don't worry. We'll bring it back. So, but yeah. What else about Aranea besides we want that costume now?
Well, I wanted to add something. I don't think we've talked about longevity. Basically, one of the main concerns that we had while we were watching data is that her main buff, Magitech Armament, is only 6 turns, and considering she's a very speedy character with 3 turns and all that, she tends to lose the frame buffs really fast. You have to manage that with the low skill uses she has, and Magitech Armament only is granted by her first skill. So that was her primary concern, but it turned out that she is so strong that she doesn't need longevity. She kills everything so fast. She doesn't need that, but it might be an issue on the long run, even if Magitech Armament isn't her best friend buff, so you don't have to keep it always. It does give her some stats, but it's not as important as Overclock. And the second thing I wanted to add is a lot of people have been questioning, you said about art. Right now, myself, I'm using to attack CS50 and one Max Brave CS50, and it works wonders. Later on, she might need that attack, sure, because of her low potencies. But on the question of spheres,
Oh, good. Yeah, let's talk spheres.
there's been a lot of discussion about her E slot. Everyone wants to put Vanille primarily because she can break easily, so she can cleanse those buffs. Myself, I am not a big fan of that. I don't especially. I wouldn't tell people to do it or not, but I think in the breaking chain, as when we get to Vayne
Yeah.
and Null, especially Vayne in 2 months, I think.
Yeah.
Vayne is a much better breaker than Aranea is because he has his break on his X and skill 2 that he can refresh with EX, so he has a lot more capabilities to cleanse those buffs, especially since he has multiple turns in succession, so he can cleanse more buffs in succession. While Aranea really needs to keep in mind that she doesn't have anything to refresh her skill uses. She has to keep them for turn manipulation and her own buffs, basically. So I don't think Vanille Sphere is the best on Aranea, so I would hold to that. But what I did do is I used Setzer's Sphere on Aranea, um, which inflicts 20% speed. I'm looking into. I forgot what was the condition. I'm just gonna look into it.
You need to have full HP. Inflict speed
Yeah,
down
exactly.
20% for 6 turns when dealing critical hit while HP at max. So you have to deal a critical hit. Your HP has to be full.
Exactly. So it deals 20% spin down, and I think that's really good synergy with a kit
amazing.
because Vital Crusher is only 2 turns debuff. So pairing the fact that she is a speedy character with that speed down only adds to her utility and just helping herself keeping her own debuff more on the enemy, basically. So yeah, I would go with Setzer on the sphere.
Yeah, Night is
But
Dark Full of Terrors is saying, I think I'll just forget spheres exist. That is the easier way, and you certainly don't need to put spheres. I think a character like Aranea is worth talking a little bit more in depth about spheres because she is very, very good. You could argue she is the most powerful character right now, certainly tied for the most powerful or very close. And so sphering a character like that is going to keep her better longer. And so, yeah, why not? And we know moving forward in Japan, we will get resources that allow you to safely remove a sphere without destroying it. So if you're worried about that moving forward, that will be an option sometime in the future. But yeah, heard a lot of people talking about Vanille Sphere, which again dispels on a break. And you can argue that that is a good sphere on her, and I don't think it's a terrible sphere on her, but I am 100% in agreement with Dreamy. That sphere, I think, belongs much better on Vayne or Null, but Vayne, I think, ideally. But that being said, I did also put Setzer's sphere on. Tidus has a similar sphere if you're looking for another sphere. Another option for the E sphere would be Vincent's sphere, which gives an attack down. Obviously, that's often resisted, the attack down, for different reasons, but that's an option as well. Arrow, you're talking about Belthier's sphere. Is that a E sphere as well? Belthier's sphere? Let me see. I should have it if it is.
I think it's A, actually.
Yeah, Belthier's sphere is an A sphere.
No, Beltier is A. Yeah, it's an A sphere. Beltier sphere raises break bonus by 50% when.
Yeah, that's the break bonus. I usually don't go that. Arrow can tell us how that works on him personally. Now, Aranea's sphere is good. It gives her Int Brave and Max Brave up, I believe, right? So that's a good sphere on her. As well. I personally chose King Sphere since I already had King, which raises attack by 20% for 3 turns when inflicting break. And I also then use Sephiroth Sphere. Don't tell Jin, because I know he was upset that I would use Sephiroth Sphere on anybody but Sephiroth. And that raises the Aranea's max brave and attack by 10% if HP is at least 50% at the start of the last wave. So that gives a last wave bonus, kind of like a C50 for a lot of characters. So those were my choices: King Sphere, Sephiroth Sphere, Setzer Sphere. There's a lot of other A spheres. I know people were talking about Kuja for the brave hits, although I don't necessarily know that she needs that. But I think the max brave and the attack up spheres definitely, and the imp brave sphere for her is really, really good. So I certainly don't think you can regret putting her own sphere on, or the sphere of a gentleman that comes out tonight is also a very good option as well. So any other things about spheres, gentlemen?
Not spheres, but I haven't taken my turn at
I know, yeah.
Aranea yet. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready for that?
Yeah, let me just relax a little bit.
Let me take a drink too. Again,
Go
I was
ahead.
begging at the beginning of the podcast that we delay the start of the podcast because I never have time to eat dinner before the podcast, and Crease's dinner was running late. But that didn't happen, so now I've been drinking on an empty stomach again. So
Weren't you working on the new entropy wave while we've been talking?
yeah, I finished that and Rinoa's Chaos while drunk, and that's why I didn't want to give my opinions on a lot of these fights. I skipped my opinion on like the story Chaos fight we were talking about. I'm not really going to talk about these fights either because I don't remember half of it. And apparently, this is really we'll talk about when we get there. But I have the fight breakdown ready when we get there for this week for both events. So, but let's talk about Aranea. So, man, I did so much research on this. It was painful. I did more math than I ever wanted to do in a span of a week. But I tried so hard to find holes in Aranea's kits and to see how she would actually hold up moving forward mathematically. I asked Rem for a lot of data mining help. I asked him to give me the stats to many, many bosses coming up in the future and even current bosses. And I plugged into Safina's damage formula. Holy shit, did I do the legwork on this? And let me say, I am very disappointed to say that Aranea is insanely strong. I hold a lot of our other fellow content creators and streamers in contempt. I don't like their advice. I don't respect their advice. But jokes aside, no, really, a lot of people have been saying Aranea is going to hold up for a long time. She really is going to hold up for a long time. Doing the math, pulling from the data mining, enemy defense stays roughly the same as it does now until the burst LD era. I won't pull too many specific numbers, but basically using Brothers as an example, Brothers is an above average example, even though it's a fight with synergy. Brothers has a base defense of 9,500. It increases by 140% at 80%, and then again by another 200% at 50%. No, not another, but a total of 200%. So that's the above average Chaos defense. We took a look at the end of Chaos and several along. We took a look at Keese's boss's defense, Trey's boss's defense, Alexander Chaos, etc. It is all roughly the same or less defense and less increases. Brothers had more increases than average, actually, with the 200%. But basically, defense for the Chaos era stays pretty damn static for the next 8 months. So how hard Aranea is hitting now outside of synergy is how hard she's going to be hitting on average for the next 6 months. That's not even considering when supports get stronger, when Enchant and Peril becomes a thing. Like, holy fuck, she really is going to be almost capping every fight for the next 6+ months. And I tried so hard to find holes in her kit. But this is consistent. And then even jumping to Lufania, which I'll get to, the defense doesn't rise that much. It becomes a brave reduction thing, which again, the increased crit damage fares even better because I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast. Right now, the Chaos gimmick is every 80 to 50% bosses get invisible buffs
Right.
to defense, and that's why they become so much tankier. At a certain point,
They get
to
invisible
nullify,
buffs to everything, but in defense,
but specifically the
drastically.
defense is
Yeah.
the one that's chunking the damage.
Mhm.
At a certain point, you get so many characters that ignore defense, they decide to make it a brave reduction instead of defense increase. And once that happens, weakness damage becomes a much bigger deal. How the damage formula to this game works is that weakness damage has a cap. We've talked about this before. I don't know if you guys know. Standard weakness is plus 50%. You get a cap of plus 150%. There is a hard cap. You hit that cap because there's a lot of characters out there that do extra weakness damage to debuffed per debuff. There's characters that do it extra damage to enemies not targeting them, to enemies targeting them, to ghosts, to machines, etc., to wolves, to humans. You know, there's all these extra bonuses you can throw in Cryals, but it caps at an extra 150%. How crit works is it's outside of that limit and it has no cap. And that makes it so ridiculously fucking strong, even moving forward. So no matter what era, in the defense increase era to the brave damage reduction era, that extra crit damage is going to matter so much. And it's just, holy shit, is this a broken character? I can't wrap my head around. Like, Beatrix is really good. And I kept saying there's no way Aranea was going to outlast Beatrix, because Beatrix came at a time, the most difficult content in the game's history, not counting global. In Japan's time, they did not have the early Lena EX, so they only had their hell month was Agrius EX, Fang EX, and Deuce EX, all back to back. Beatrix came. That was the lowest character variety you've ever seen in the history of the game. Beatrix came. She was magic. She was lightning. She had auras. She had a lot of buffs to play off of Kate Sith and the other metas. So she was such a strong character. She fell off roughly 3 months in. People stretch her to 6 months. Aranea is easily a top tier DPS 6+ months. And I hate to say that because I don't want to overhype the GL first, but there's so many reasons why she stays strong, and damage is one of them. Putting damage aside, she has the re-breaks, which is why Vayne is going to come back so strong when he gets his EX plus. One of the reasons. She had, even if her damage drops off, she has the utility because she has the 2-turn delay, which is why General Leo was so prized when he comes. So she has the, re-breaks and delays that make the two next Meta Kings why they're Meta King. So she has both of those, and on top of that, she has Vital Crusher, which increases crit damage significantly by all sources, especially on herself. But even if her damage ever falls off, and like I said, we data mined Lufania boss stats, and defense increases marginally, where base defense starts becoming like 10.5 thousand to 11,000 as opposed to Chaos's 9,000 base or 9.5 thousand. So it increases very marginally, and even if her attack falls off, you're boosting burst characters and LD characters with the crit bonus. And because it's a debuff, think about it. Throw any burst character in there, the burst character gets 6 extra turns, and it's all hitting crit and doing double crit damage, right? Because the enemies aren't regenning their brave during it. You're going to be hitting a lot of crits, and because it's a debuff, the less the enemy moves, the more damage, the more mileage you're going to get out of it. She's just so fucking broken in terms of damage, in terms of utility, and many of the JP players I trust say that even if she was launched in current JP without an LD, she's not going to be topping the damage charts, but her Vital Crusher debuff alone would put her as an extremely viable character just for being able to boost every other strong character. This is another example of an early Saz or a Beatrix, where they just have so much utility you can slot them anywhere. Saz was a great early character because he could boost any team, and any favorites you want to run, they're just going to be that much stronger. Same with Beatrix. She had the attack and max brave auras and all the buffs. And I I don't know what Square Enix was thinking. This is really ridiculous. Okay, let's get to some downsides though. But I can't really think of any. Just go all in on this character.
Yeah, so
Be
Mino,
honest.
should you pull?
Oh, you should.
You
You
should.
Hey,
should
Noctis
really.
is on the
You
banner.
should
That's a
really.
good down.
The only reason this is not like as big an investment as I'd say Saz and Beatrix is because Entropy exists. And
Yeah.
you can only use her in one tier. So she's not like a Saz and Beatrix in the fact that you can pull this one character and not need to pull characters for months because you still need to keep pulling characters
Yeah,
for Entropy.
but yeah, right. So you do need a large roster, everything else in the current meta if you want to complete all the content. But yeah, she's not everything. She's a selfish damage dealer. She does do the crit bonus, that does help, but that's her only support to everybody else. She doesn't launch.
The delays are another support, though. Yeah,
yeah, delays are another support. No, she's great.
she has too much of everything. Like there's no downside.
She has that dumb helmet on, so that's a downside. Take the helmet off. Beautiful.
She's extremely flexible because
So flexible.
people talk about like
You meant
buff
like mechanically?
upkeep.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. People
That's
talk
what I
about
meant.
buff upkeep, but holy shit, does she? Like if you want to manipulate EXs or even the AA can prevent your momentum. You can burst when you want. You can take it slow when you want. She has plenty of AoE, like insane AoE. What is it? 230% overflow with an 80% splash. Even on single target, she's going to have the delays and re-breaks. Like there's almost no situation where she's going to be bad. She's pure ranged. Having one attack type across the board is extremely valuable, so you don't run into walls like Zack and Noctis do, where if one of their types is resisted, they're at half efficiency. She's neutral element all the way through, so Enchant Imperil's gonna put.
Yeah,
Arrow's
saying Onion Knight's going to pair well with her because he's going to be able to enchant ice.
Who won't pair well with her?
Lulu will be able to enchant fire. All our other enchanters are coming up here, so you're going to have all kinds of opportunities to enchant element and allow her to do even more damage. So yeah,
just plug and play. She'll work in any team. Yeah. Really, no fucking downside. She's going to be a top tier DPS, a first pick DPS for months at least until the burst LD era. Even then she'll relegate to support. And she'll be a top-tier support because nobody else provides that kind of delay on top of the crit buff. And again, the crit buff is even stronger than the weakness enchant and peril buff. So, what the fuck are we even doing here? I'm trying to think. I was there's something wrong with her.
So Chad is saying, one of her weaknesses is her EX animation's too similar to her skill 2 animation. I actually like the difference, and I think,
Me too.
I think both are really nice, knowing how the character plays and liking that character in the game. Anyway, I think we can take it back a step and say, okay, obviously she's bonkers. She's super powerful. She probably doesn't even need to exist in what we have right now, right? She's just so powerful. But you don't necessarily need her to do anything in terms of the content.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to say.
So, obviously the JP version of the game got through everything we've gotten through without her. So you're going to be able to do all the dimensions end tiers, all of the chaoses, all of the fights. Really, even her chaos fight you can get on without her. Now it's a little harder, but that being said, there's plenty of reasons if you don't want to pull her, if you don't have the resources, if you're waiting for some other favorites, not to like throw the game in the toilet. Obviously, if you have the resources, I think we would all say, yeah, she's an amazing character. She's a lot of fun to play. She does take a little bit of skill. I've seen a lot of posts online. I won't say which media version that I've gone to that I see these things, but there seems to be one over the others. So you do need to have a little bit of understanding, and even we've been kind of learning how to play her a little bit. It might be that one that Chris said in chat, yeah. But yeah, she's not the most straightforward character, although at the moment you're going to be able to kind of play her pretty stupidly and get through. The longer it goes, the harder it's going to be to do that, definitely. But yeah, so I mean, don't feel like, oh man, I missed her. I might as well just throw in the game or re-roll the game. Don't be doing that unless you just started. But if you did just start, what a wonderful time to start. Pick up Aranea. You're going to be set for quite some time and have a really good option to go through all of the old content with. I mean, is there anything like going back through story, lost chapters, like from this point backwards, is there anything that you don't think Aranea is just not going to completely obliterate except the few things that are range resist? And even at that point, she might just she's going to burn through range resist Cosmos fights. She's not going to care about that. So, there's only going to be a few chaos fights moving backwards where she's really going to struggle.
Chaos is the notable one.
Yeah.
This is another benefit of the Chaos era being a full year. Like, it's a pretty plateau difficulty curve for the better part of a year. So you can expect to coast for a long time with this power level. C. Williams is saying, I believe Aranea is pure range. Then that means range weakness is her weakness. No? Yeah. Well, then you got the Enchant Imperils, which are going to be a big deal for the next month and a half, because the next month and a half, a lot of bosses are going to resist everything. And they're pumping out 4 characters that imperil their element and enchant the whole party, and that's the meta for a little while. You just throw on an enchant imperil, she can get through the range weakness, because as you know, elemental weakness overrides type weakness. So
hey, shout out to our friend Chris5258, fellow streamer. Good to see you on the chat. Check out Chris's Twitch streams, always does a good job.
And as Hate 13 is saying, the last note I want to say, because I'm hogging up all the time right now, sorry guys.
Whatever.
But the last thing I want to say is I think it's so smart that they released Aranea, Square Enix released Aranea at this age. It really shakes up pulls and meta for sure, as we'll get to when we talk about Irvine. It makes us view a lot of characters differently. A lot of characters that were considered dead on arrival in JP are suddenly very viable in global. And for example, Hate 13 saying Lulu was another character. We'll get to Lulu in the future, but it changes the entire landscape. There's a lot of characters like Irvine, Lulu, so many characters that are just so much better with her. Even the meta characters, the meta supports are going to boost her so much more, like Saz and Arciella and Alphino. It's so smart of them. It just like the others, time travelers, I said, they enable favorites. She's strong enough to carry your favorites and make them shine even brighter. It's going to introduce a lot more character variety in events moving forward, I am sure. But wow, for the one character to shake up GL landscape this much, this was perfect. And there are a lot of people saying, just imagine her with her LD. We don't talk about JP much, but the reason she's shining so much is because she's from a future era where everyone's kits are this loaded. If you have not been paying attention to the latest LD characters the last month or two in JP, a lot of them have this level of power and versatility. So I think it's going to be a case of Beatrix, where a lot of people were very disappointed when Beatrix came back around in JP, because her kit is very viable and average and normal for the era she launches in a normal timeline. And I think, like a lot of JP players are speculating, LD is just going to add some stats and maybe some better buff management and an extra feature. But that's mostly what LDs do. A lot of what you see is what you're going to get at a slightly higher level, at a much higher level of competition. So as Mark said, if you don't have the resources to pull now, you're not going to miss out on too much. Everything's completable. We've been proven that. Everything's very completable. Chaos lasts very long. We're entering a very chill era, just like mid-Cosmos, where a lot of things are viable. You don't have to worry about one meta character carrying you. So if you want to skip out and you don't like the character, there's no shame in that at all.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that the Crystal Chronicles and the Tonberry Troupe both endorse this global first character, Aranea, and hopefully you all did well on your polls. So, CSAM, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub, and hey, some love for your icon there, Dreamy. So, your avatar on the splash screen there. So,
yeah, good.
Yeah.
Very well done. You're the first to tell.
Oh, sorry, real quick. CSAM says garbage time 2.0. Not yet, CSAM. I'll say it when it's closer. Burst era is garbage time.
Yep, early burst
2.0.
era. Yep, early burst
So
era.
yeah. From like when burst first comes out to Lufania, complete fucking garbage time.
Yeah,
Everyone
you
has
don't want to say garbage time yet because we have some difficulty spikes ahead of us before we get to burst era.
Yeah, but I'm saying when we get there.
Yeah, no.
When we get there, that is garbage time. Imagine continuing at the same pace, but with a new tier of weapon and an even newer tier of weapon with burst. And then when you pull the burst character, there's synergy for like 4 or 5 events for the 2-week span. You know, like just whatever. We'll get to that. I hate that time, but we'll get to that much later.
So let's just briefly talk about the EX fight because we have a lot more content to talk about, and we're already a good chunk of time into our show tonight. So the EX fight, you fight these 2 knights, and the big thing with these 2 knights is they have a mechanic at some point. They actually have to activate it. It's not automatic. Like, it's not at a damage threshold. They actually have to activate their shield, Superior Shield, I think it's called, and it allows them to be unbreakable, so they can't be broken. And so that's very annoying, and a very annoying mechanic.
They're so
cute. They're adorable, though.
They're so small. They're adorable. We rarely get bosses this size.
Yeah, they are. They are smaller than regular characters, let alone enemies. They're like miniature. They're like hobbit knights. They might be hobbits or dwarfs.
Exactly.
They're a little thin for a dwarf, but yeah, I mean, like a halfling, in D&D, or a hobbit in the Lord of the Rings, or a dwarf. They're dwarf knights. That's a good hardy kind of knight class. So mini knights, yeah. Maybe they're just cats standing up. I don't know. Either way, if you have Aranea on your team, you probably didn't have any problem with this chaos fight. But there are some team comps here on Macno's Call to Arms. Tons of video submissions, of course, with popular events. He always gets tons of video submissions. He has almost 90 different video comps. But I want to highlight a few of our friends who did Aranea runs. I just had it. So Strafe did Golbez Lizette Zack. Obviously, Zack's super, super powerful. Vane Novus did Squall Ignis, Warrior of Light. Obviously, Warrior of Light can help with that. Amaterasu, our friend, did Rosa Agrius Zack. So some manipulation there as well. I believe Arrow Laylee on Twitch did a really interesting team comp too, if I can find it here. Sidra Games did one. Setzer Rydia Zack. I was talking to Sidra earlier today. Going to try to have Sidra on later. There's a character that he's pretty pumped about here in a couple months, so we'll have them on there. Machina Leon Skate. It had to be like the most ridiculous team setup if it was Arrow. So yeah, Machina Leon Kate Sith. She was able to do that with that fight. There's an Aiko Kamari Golbez from Ganro, Gaanro. So shout out to him, or them, I should say. Yuffie Warrior of Light Charlotta from Picky, who is often with us. So yeah, so there is a lot of different options. Kem is up here, Leon Lilizette King. And I think, GRW8 did Kryl, Warrior of Light Vincent. Fujin, Rosa, and Emperor Jin Lee did that one. And Tellyute did Squall, Lilizette, and Zack. So Snoopball did Vane, Rosa, and Prompto. So there's 2 characters with no EXs and just Rosa with her EX. So you can check out all of them there. But Fujin, Jin Lee, you can check out our friend Jin Lee's. He does all the backgrounds for us and all our emojis. You can check out his YouTube channel and see that Fujin run. It was pretty fun, actually. So yeah, maybe not the hardest of chaos fights. If you're a little creative, it has a different mechanic that we're not used to, being unable to break the characters. But there's ways you around it, and they do lose that. So you just kind of have to play through it if you get to that point. But if you brought Aranea, you probably didn't even have to deal with that because they were most likely dead well before that. Is that a fair assessment of the chaos fight, guys, or do we need to go any deeper into it?
I think that hits all the important points. If you're getting stuck with the guys with the shield, they will eventually exhaust, and then you can break them again. That's an important thing to mention.
Yeah, you can outlast the shield.
Careful though, because it's
no. Go ahead, Dreamy.
They do a very powerful shield attack when their shield is red when about to exhaust.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know how powerful it is, but once I let it happen, when I tried another team comp, and it one-shot my Ignis.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it can do a lot of damage, so do be careful if you have to play around that. But go check out Call to Arms if you're struggling. I think you might be able to find a team comp that can work for you. Or come on the Discord and we'll help you out as well. But definitely, I'm not going to... just let me look real quick on the Call to Arms. Yeah, friend Aranea. Pretty much down. A lot of people didn't even use their friends if they brought Aranea. I thought there was a couple. There's a couple duo runs here. Aranea Celeste, Aranea Noctis, Aranea Warrior of Light. Those are just the duo runs. She cannot solo it, I don't believe. I've not seen a solo yet. But she can definitely duo it with pretty much anybody else. So, but those three in particular had some duo runs on there. Well, we'll be talking Aranea, I think, for quite some time to come because we're going to keep using her. We all invested in her. Most everybody pulled on that banner. So we'll probably keep her around for a while and enjoy her. I'm very excited that this was a character that I liked. All of you who are waiting for Riku and some other Thunder God Sid or something else. Sorry, Red 13. That's what I was thinking of. Sorry.
I do want to say really quick, Mark. Sorry,
you getting in a bar fight there? Calm down.
I'm very drunk. Anyway, I do want to say that while I loved Square Enix's official video, it was very detailed. I thought it was great, and I believe our own Square Enix Joshua did it himself. Yeah. I think next year there could probably be even more detail because there's still a lot of people on social media confused on how Aranea works, right? Like, not everyone understands what the buffs do still, or how the delay works. So Square Enix, maybe consider 5 videos next time for the global first. Just a little tip.
Don't put that on Joshua, because let's be honest, there are people who are just always going to be confused about how these characters work. Unless the characters press button win, they're going to be confused, and not any of our listeners.
So they need 3 kings.
Yeah,
2.5 minutes per skill, please.
2.5 minutes. Let it ruminate. It's like a fine wine. I just want to sift, just have a good whiff of the smell of the skill. I want, by the time we get our third global exclusive Scott from Final Fantasy II, I expect his burst and his LD and his Ultra Magnus weapon and his Ultima, ringlet armor and his Iggy, whatever. I expect lots of different videos, but until then, we do thanks Square Enix Joshua for the wonderful preview videos, and actually not just showing us the gameplay, but actually telling us what the skills did before we were able to draw. Not that, we probably would have drawn anyway. All of us would have, because we are the hosts of a weekly podcast that is celebrating its 90th episode today. So, yeah, we'll certainly try to pull and share everything we can. But that does bring us to the event that just dropped an hour and a half ago, as long as we've been on tonight. And that is Rinoa's Lost Chapter, Where to Go. Now, as I said earlier today, I watched every Should You Pull video on this Lost Chapter on the internet today for this game. I watched other Should You Pull on other gotchas too, and none of them, including the ones for the other games, said that you should pull on this banner. Now, personally, I think we need to correct this. This is not okay. To crap on, first of all, my best lady, Rinoa, and her friend, who also gets some things, Irvine. And as though Irvine is my least favorite character in that 6-character lineup, I do believe that given a recent banner, Irvine actually has some opportunity to shine, and this banner should be considered not a automatic skip, but at least a banner to consider. So, I already have both of these EXs, and I am going to fully realize them. I tell you that before I'm going to talk about each of these characters to let you know how committed I am about this banner. I'm not just saying you should consider this banner and then like, no, I'm not going to pull on it. No, I already pulled on it while we were doing other things tonight, live on air, and have both EXs, and will fully realize them after the show. But let me bring back these two characters, Irvine and Rinoa. Of course, this is Rinoa's Lost Chapter. Let me start with Rinoa. All right, and I know in the outline I have Irvine first, but let's start with Rinoa first because she did not get a rework. She already had her EX. This is her event. So all she gets is an EX realization. Now, if you're not familiar with, or if you weren't playing the first time Rinoa came out, she is a magic dealer. She's a black mage, of course, a sorceress in Final Fantasy VIII. And she was a stance black mage. And so the stance characters like Iggy, they have different options in their kits. So Rinoa has two options. She has an attack option. Well, both of them are attack options, but she has a very offensive option in Angel Wing, and that is a free turn action that gives her the Angel Wing buff and then allows her to have this very powerful HP plus attack that does 50% splash damage. Wow, an attack that does great damage and then 50% splash damage and just an HP attack. That's crazy. I don't think there'll be any other character that will have that coming. Oh, wait. Yeah, we already talked about that. But that was her big thing. And that was refreshed when she did her EX ability, Angel Wing Meteor. That was just a very powerful attack and kept that buff up. Now, she also has this other stance, which back in the Cosmos era, you almost never used. And it was a ranged attack called Angelo Cannon. And that is the one that shoots Angelo, the best pup in the game. We're going to get the other best pup later, but for right now, best pup in the game. Angelo gets shot out, and he does damage, and also then heals Rinoa and grants her the Angelo Recover stance, which is a brave and HP regenerating stance and allows her to have some brave and HP regeneration and party battery abilities. So she really kind of balanced between those two stances, the Angelo Recover, which is ranged, and kind of HP Recover, Brave Recovery battery, and Angel Wing, which is just massive damage, but at the cost of her own life. Every time you use that HP plus, it does damage to you, actually 10% of your current damage. So she was considered a glass cannon, very dangerous to play. Mino, I am talking about her first because I think actually that the other character is the headliner tonight. It's
her banner, though. It's her banner.
Yeah, it's her banner, but we're talking about her first, so deal with it. All right. Yeah, I'm the one talking. I'm going to choose who I'm talking about. Anyway.
I conceded. You win, Mark. I conceded.
So she was really powerful. She dominated Cosmos era, was a lot of fun to play. Even though she was a glass cannon, she was very powerful, and you had other people around her that could heal her, keep her safe, taunt other enemies, everything. I mean, Warrior of Light was a great option. Selphie was a great option. A lot of other characters that really helped her. Now, again, she doesn't get a rework. She doesn't get anything else besides her EX Realization. Now, that makes her EX a power, much more powerful, and also gives her this new unique buff that changes Angel Wing Meteor to Angel Wing Meteor Angelo, which gives her this Seething Power self buff or frame buff, which gives her an additional Brave and Brave Brave regeneration, not HP regeneration, based on 100% of her Brave. So this will allow her, if you use her EX when Angelo stance is up, this will allow her to get this additional frame buff, which will give her more Brave regen, which she does really need. So that is helpful. But I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you need to actually have Angelo stance up to activate that after she uses her EX. So you need an Angelo stance.
That's correct. You need to be an Angelo cannon,
Yeah.
Angelo recover stance before you activate Angel Wing Meteor to get that buff.
So that's going to be very different because
garbage.
most of us are not used to having Angelo stance on almost ever with Rinoa, because you just spam, Angel Wing and HP plus. So you are going to want her in the Angelo stance to get that extra buff. Then you can go back to the other stances as needed. With one ingot, that's just regular realization. With one ingot, she gets a massive attack up 80% and max brave up 30%. Then at 2 ingots, she gets a regular buff of attack and max brave, just generic buffs. Those are just unframed buffs. And then fully realized, the Angel Wing Meteor Angelo becomes much more powerful. She gets a Brave gain after each HP attack. So remember, she has a 3-hit attack, so it does damage, HP dump, damage, HP dump, damage, HP dump. So then after each HP dump, she does Brave Regain. It's not recovery, it's Brave Gain. So that's really helpful. That's going to do a lot more damage. And it does a lot more potency, and she starts with her EX gauge fully charged. So she does get a lot to help her. She gets more potency. She gets an extra frame buff. She actually gets a little bit of aura. Did she have the auras before?
She had the auras
Yeah,
before.
she did have the auras before. So she does have a little bit of aura, just to attack and max brave 20% each. Her a sphere is an A sphere, of course, and she gets attack and max brave 10% when HP is less than 80%, so that makes sense. When her HP is below 80%, she gets a buff. I guess we didn't talk about her AA, because she did get a level 70 for the first time. And her AA's initial attack, it gets attack and Brave up for, ends up being 4 turns. She gets 2 uses of it. So it's pretty simple, but gives attack and Brave. Obviously, that makes her do more damage, gives her more Brave regen, so it's pretty good. So, so here's where we are. Hey, Broadway Saiyan, shout out to our friend 40, the Broadway Saiyan. You can check out all his YouTube videos and his Twitch streams, but please check him out. So there's a lot of, in the Japan era of the game, there's a lot of crapping on Rinoa because Golbez got his lost chapter. He became fairly, very powerful. Those of you who pulled Golbez knew he was pretty powerful. But we were also coming on the heels of Ultimecia, exceptionally powerful mage. The Emperor, exceptionally powerful mage. You could argue Kuja in EX Realization, very powerful. Ace in his EX Realization, very powerful. So we're coming on the heels of just very powerful mage after very powerful mage, and arguably Rinoa is as powerful as a lot of those characters, probably not as powerful as Emperor or Ultimecia just because of their unique mechanics, but in terms of just damage dealing potential, she's certainly competitive with Ace and Kuja. She's certainly competitive with Golbez. She's really competitive with Ultimecia and Emperor as well. The problem is, at this point, you probably have a few of those characters, and you may not need her to do what you want to do in the game, unless you really like her, like myself and Dreamy. But that being said, she's not bad at all, and she is an excellent character who does a crazy amount of damage and continues to do what she does well. So, Dreamy, do you want to kind of add anything to Rinoa? I know you're a big fan of Rinoa.
Yeah, thank you. I have a lot to say too. I purpled Rinoa immediately. I love her a lot. Played JP first, thanks to Rinoa, just to get her weapons. So yeah, tonight I put Echosphere on Rinoa because I think the synergy is pretty good. The Echosphere allows her to heal herself for 10% of her max HP every time she uses any of her skills other than HP bravery. And I think that will help her greatly. But like you said, she's mainly a glass cannon, which requires her to have a very specific team to help her out not to get destroyed, because Angel Wing reduces her defense by 80%, so that's very bad in kill. Another thing that I find weird is that most characters on their LB2X Plus get their buff starting
Yes.
on the quest start, but Rinoa, she got her generic buffs from the EX at the start, but she didn't get the frame buffs that are Angel Recover and Seeding Power. At least Seeding Power. The problem here is that there's a bait, because you start with the EX cast fully charged, but it's the normal EX. So what you want to do is you want first to actually go into Angelo's stance and then do the EX to get that Seeding Power buff, because it's I Bravery and Bravery Regen, and you want that. Her EX is very slow, so you don't want to miss on that, and I think it's missed opportunity there.
Yeah, Slide is reminding us that she does that will be corrected on her LD, but obviously that's not today.
That's not today. Her LD is amazing, by the way, but we're not into that. Another thing is that her Angelo cannon is ranged, and her other abilities are magic. So yeah, she has that issue with type of attacks, and her bravery hits are too low. She's capped at 3, other than the EX like Noctis. Yeah, when you look on paper, it's bad. Like a lot of people, like you said on the should you pull, don't pull for Reno. You have much better. But you know what? I don't care. She's still a glass cannon. She deals so much damage, splash damage on the HP. You can manage very well because of that longevity with the HP plus and everything. I think she's just fine of a character, but yeah, she does need a lot of planning and composition not to get destroyed in her Angel Wing stance.
Yeah, thankfully we have a very good
Zack.
resource in Zack. Right, exactly. So, pairing Rinoa with Zack and a good support like, Iggy, like Rosa, like Y'shtola, anybody that can heal her and keep her alive is going to be really good. So, yeah, she's a great DPS option. Obviously, again, if you already have, like me, I have, like I talked about all those. I literally have all of those purpled mages except Golbez. Golbez is the only mage I do not have purpled or don't have his EX either. So every other mage I have purpled because I like black mages. They're one of my favorite classes in Final Fantasy anyway. So, certainly I don't need Rinoa to kind of fill a gap in my roster, but she's my favorite character in the game, so I'm going to anyway. But yeah, I don't want people thinking she's just garbage.
No, she's not.
She's certainly as powerful as anybody else. Yeah. Mino, do you want to take a crap on her before we move on to the true hero of the banner?
Definitely. Definitely, but Kreese hasn't had a say yet. Kreese, did you want to voice anything before I just shit all over this character?
I think Renault is currently in a state now where her weaknesses are holding her back, especially when she's surrounded by a lot of other powerful mages. As Mark mentioned, we have Ultimecia, we have Emperor. We even have characters like Kuja and Ace who are still solid EX plus mages.
With
Rinoa is a glass cannon that suffers substantially if you do not build around her right now. I'm the only one who cares about this. I don't know why no one else talks about it, but her defense down from Angel Wing stance is now a serious issue. It's always been an issue. Now it's even worse because Chaos bosses can hit very hard, and that basically reduces her defense down to nothing. If she gets hit by anything without protection, she is going to get chunked and most likely broken. So you need to protect her super hard. She is fragile as all hell. She drains her health, so you got to be careful. You either need to pair her with a healer, or you need to be risking her taking HP hits and dying all of a sudden. She's like if Dark Knight Cecil did not have his Last Stand passive, is the best way I can put it. And I don't think she does the damage right now to support that on her own. That's my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
That is a good transition to me, who will be much, much harsher. Dreamy, I'll give you a rebuttal because I know you and Mark are, big fans of this character. So let's not end on a sour note. But I have so many bad things to say about Rinoa. As you guys have said, let me lead off. She is really good right now, this instant, like this hour in time. She is competitive with Emperor and Ultimecia, but she has none of the gimmicks. She's like 8 in a lot of ways. Anyone who's played 8, and I want to point out, if anyone on chat wants to correct me right now, but I remember I trashed 8 at the time, even though he was very hyped, because I said his extra brave damage taken, extra HP damage taken was a huge liability unless you built around him. And I've seen throughout the weeks a lot of people on Discord and the subreddit say, oh, I'm realizing 8's not as good, or I'm realizing 8's just not a first tier pick. That 40% extra HP damage is really noticeable. Rinoa has the extra damage taken and the extra low HP and defense stats without the ability to dodge. So she is completely open to AoEs, and that is not a good thing. She has none of the utility of Emperor and Ulti. She doesn't have the free turns. She doesn't have the gravity. She does not have the enemy phase actions. And although she can compete with them on an even playing field when the difficulty spikes, which it will very soon just to spite Rinoa, if you look ahead to a couple of the boss fights in the next month and a half, most of them resist magic. Because at this point in JP, they're realizing Emperor is kind of ridiculous. So let's kind of throw a bunch of fights that resist magic to shut him down. And Rinoa can barely keep up with them on an even playing field. With magic resist, it is just over. Looking at her LC Chaos fight and moving forward, her big benefit, as we said, where her HP plus with the splash damage, Aranea already does that better. So she's just hurting from all sides here. She's hurting herself. Someone brought up in chat that she can purposely lower her HP to trigger Leviathan passive, which I think is a very neat trick. If you guys want to build an iBrave regen team with Rinoa, that is nice. But standing on her own, not strong in any area. Low defense. She's going into a month where she's heavily resisted with no utility, and she's hurting herself. Very, very big liability. Again, think about 8. Do you like 8? Now imagine 8 without the dodge and the counter. Do you like him now? It's a really hard sell, in my opinion, and I don't know. Sorry, I don't want to end on this note. Mark and Dreamy, do you guys have any counterpoints to the things I brought up?
Well, like Mark said, like we have Zack lately. If you have Zack, if you have Bosch, if you have anything in the sorts, like yeah, she a specific team composition to work, and her you gotta understand too that while her dev debuff, her dev debuff on Angel Wing is terrible. I mean, you can still I believe you can still counter it with, switching stances. That's the main point of her kit. Because anyway, you want to prepare yourself. If you do your rotation right, you want to be in Angelo stance to go into EX. And if you do it well, you can make sure to be in a Angelo stance and have the eye brave to keep yourself from getting broken, and don't have that nasty death debuff on you, I think you can make it work. And her damage output should be good enough, to make herself useful. And she has that small aura, which is 20% attack and max brave, to go around. But yeah, I mean, she's no meta breaker, and she's not the best character right now. But yeah, I think she can hold up to at least a month or two with the right compositions and playstyle.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
What
I
what
mean, I'm not going
Dreamy
to say
what Dreamy's trying to say, and he's a guest, so he's being polite, is that if you didn't suck so much, you could probably play her decently. I mean, that's what he's trying to say.
Well, what I want to add on to what Dreamy said, because I forgot. Thank you, Dreamy, for reminding me. The other thing that I hate about Rinoa is all of a sudden they're forcing a rotation on her with the force switch to Angelo mode to do the EX. Like, what the fuck? I mean, before
it's
she
not
was
forced.
great.
It's not forced on you, but it does make you, this era makes you have to use the stances where Cosmos didn't make you use the stances. And so this just is kind of a gentle reaffirming of, here's a bonus for using the stances like you're supposed to. So I don't necessarily see that as a downside. Hey, listen, we're going considerably long, and certainly no one is probably going to pull, unless they love Rinoa like we do, and they probably already have her EX like we do anyway. So no one's probably going to pull for Rinoa unless they don't have any mages, they're new to the game, they really need a good mage, and they don't like Terra, who's also kind of in the midst of this weird stop. Realizing going forward in the major adventure, you're probably not going to need mages for a while, but for Chaos and Cosmos, Dimensions End, Pathos, Abyss, you're going to need some magic. There's another guy on this banner who we probably would have just skimmed over if there wasn't another banner live right now. And so let's talk about Irv. Irv got a rework. His rework did boost him a little bit. His C54 actually becomes a party aura. Very cool. His first ability becomes more powerful. Canister shot, or is that a second? Whatever. Canister shot gets more uses, more hits, more damage, overflow, speed down boost, no conditional HP attack, always does an HP attack, and gives him generic Embrave up. The scatter shot, additional boost, more brave hits, more potency, overflow, more or longer range resist down, and more physical attack up for himself. So decent rework, nothing necessarily it's game breaking. If you're not familiar with what Irvine does, he is a ranged support character. We don't have a lot of these, or certainly we don't have a lot of true only range support. We have a guy with a gun arm. We talked about him a little bit. And Kamari, I guess, would be in there. And Yuffie, too. I guess she's kind of range support. But she has a mixed kit. But he is full ranged. Everything he does is ranged attack. The canister shot attack is just your basic brave hit HP. That does a speed down. And he has a lot of uses of that. Scatter shot is the one that gives an AoE ranged resist down, so an imperil range damage. Then his EX, which he just got, called Armor Shot, is a 3 brave plus HP attack. It does splash damage. It has 3 HP attacks, so it's done 3 times. It's just a common thing with EXs now. And it heals the party. So Irvine becomes a healer. Before, he was just basically a ranged DPS / ranged support with the Imperil. But now he actually becomes a healer and really much more of a true support. Deals extra damage when you do range resist down. His AA is actually also an attack that triggers additional increases the duration of debuffs, correct? Is that what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's nice. He gets 2 uses of that, 2 additional attacks to his kit. Now, he does get an EX Realization. Armor shot, his attack becomes more powerful. The duration of range resist down, which is one of his big things, additional increased. He becomes more, with 1 ingot, more attack, more X Brave, normal. 2 ingots, the EX becomes faster. The recast rate goes up. And he starts the quest with his unique buff, Snipe, which he gets from his EX. And Snipe, super important, gives ranged overflow plus 20%. So ranged attacks do more overflow. So we have Imperil, ranged Imperil, ranged overflow up. With a fully limit broke Irvine, he gets his HP++, and the EX becomes a lot more powerful, a lot more potent, more hits, more overflow, etc. His HP++, very interesting, from his fully realized kit, is a Brave plus HP attack with overflow, nothing to write home about, but it heals the party 20% HP damage dealt up to 10% max. And both of his are guaranteed to hit HP plus and HP plus. So that's a nice part of the range kit as well. So Irvine, and just to kind of go over his auras just from all his different buffs, and thanks to the Tonberry Troupe for making that easy for me to read. Attack 60%, max brave 40%. These are auras. Ranged overflow limit 20%. So again, if we were not talking about a global first, and we were just talking about, okay, well, we have King, we don't really have any other good range characters kind of on their way for a while, and Rinoa's not the best mage maybe, or I already have her, so this is a pretty easy banner to skip. But we just got a global first full ranged character with a 2-month early Noctis EX Realization, both ranged. And this makes ranged Imperil and ranged overflow damage much more important. And I think it makes Irvine much more of a viable pull. I'm not saying you should pity Irvine. Aranea is going to stand on her own. She doesn't need any help. But I think pairing her with Irvine, or if you really love Noctis and Noctis needs some help, pairing Noctis with Irvine, this is a good banner, and this is a good character to pull, and I think it should be part of your consideration. Again, I'm not saying you should pity it. I'm not saying you should spend all your resources. I'm saying you should consider this banner if you like Aranea, if you like Noctis, if you like King, if you have their kits, you can pair Irvine and Aranea with any other support, probably any other DPS. I'm going to test it, and I'll get back to you next week, so you can wait a little bit, and we have some other people who are going to do the same thing. But he may be able to stand on his own as a solo support, given Aranea's potencies and given the fact that he can heal and do everything else. So pairing him with kind of a semi-support or even another DPS, just like King and or Noctis and Aranea, King and Aranea might be enough. Or throw Zack in there if you need a tank. Throw Lilizet in there if you need a debuffer and some extra auras. Things like that. Obviously, Barret, Kimahri. I was trying to think of some really good range support, third support options. I think Kimahri, actually, I don't have him, but I think that's a decent thing. I think Barret's a decent kind of third support as well. So. Yeah, I'm not even paying attention to chat. I don't want to stop my Irvine high right now. So somebody crap on Irvine, because nobody else was talking
Dreamy,
about this
any
today.
opinions?
Nobody else was saying Irvine is a viable pick in this era because of Aranea, and I think he is damn well a viable pick, and I think you should damn well consider him if you pulled Aranea. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, Dreamy, you're up.
Well, I don't have a lot to say apart from I was surprised to see Sorry, his HP plus heals. That's pretty nice, but don't forget that it's only one bravery plus HP, so that's so it's really only there for the. He has nice auras. I'll give him that. And that ranged resist down. I think it's pretty cool. We don't characters like him often, like you said, like ranged using a pistol, killing people with bullets. I mean, that's pretty cool. So yeah, so yeah. Honestly, I like characters like that. I don't think I'll. But I'm with Mark here. I think he deserves a bit of attention, especially since because of Aranea and other characters that are ranged, he makes them viable. Personally, I'm looking into Fran in the months to come. She has ranged resist down too, and I'll be looking into Fran. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Fran does do that. Her kit's a little different, and certainly she's a good third option as well. But she's a couple months away as well. So the one thing I will say, a downside before I give it over to Mino to rant for a few hours, no, I'm kidding, is he does not have any battery. So that is a downside as a support character. He is not really battering, and so a battery option for him in Aranea would be helpful, because if he can use his HP attack, HP plus to heal off of a battery, it's going to do a lot more damage and heal a lot more, and so it's going to be a lot more useful than his other things. So yeah, so go ahead, Priest.
Anything to add?
Irvine seems like a very solid offensive support option. He brings a lot of power to allies, especially ranged allies, but that's just about all he does. So if you need someone who can basically wear a lot of hats and carry a lot of roles in your support option, Irvine is not the best choice for you. But if you just need someone to make everyone who's with him stronger and they happen to be ranged attackers, he's going to make your team just destroy everything, I think is the best way to put it from what I've seen so far. I don't know if he's better with these good ranged attack options this month, with Noctis being brought forward and Aranea showing up, but I don't think he's anywhere near like super strong despite that.
All right. I will bring up a few points that I think nobody has touched on, co-hosts or other streamers. But I want to reinforce what Mark said. Irvine is not getting enough credit because a lot of people are dismissing him because of JP opinion, I think, without realizing what Aranea does to change that, or the early Noctis change. And Mark brings up a lot of good points. He covered most of everything. But what I haven't heard people say is Irvine's a lot like Ignis. People keep trying to put him as full DPS or full support. He's a hybrid support, a sub support, a support to a support. He works best when there's another DPS and another support, and he's bridging both gaps because he'll cover any lackluster healing along with Rosa. Like low healing characters like Rosa, he's perfect for. He doubles up on Rosa's healing, doubles up on Rosa's overflow, doubles up on Rosa's auras. Yeah. Like he can cover it that much, just like Ignis. His DPS is not the best, but again, he's not there to be DPS. He's there to be a sub support. His DPS is better than most supports, a little lower than other DPS. With the EX plus change, he can keep the range down imperil up indefinitely until he runs out of skills. It can have 100% uptime until he's out of skills, which is a good hefty couple of dozen of turns. And that's the big change. When Orin and Irvine came originally, they had bursts of the imperil. Now with the EX plus, he has a huge imperil. And let's take it to the JP timeline really quick. People loved Irvine when he dropped because now he can keep the imperil up 100% of the time. The problem is in JP, he had nobody to imperil. King was the only other option. Everyone else, like Barrett and Balthier, were starting to age out. And if you look at the timeline for 2.5 months, there are no other viable range DPS. And so everyone said, I did a lot of research on this as well. I browsed through a lot of the Japanese forums, and a lot of the comments said Irvine's ranged DPS is, ranged imperil is amazing, but there are no ranged DPS around him. So he was only really imperiling for himself, and therefore raising himself to above average to mediocre DPS. Because GL brought in early Noctis EX Plus and Aranea, suddenly it's a different story. He's not just imperiling for himself and maybe King. He's supporting the strongest DPS we'll have for months and another very strong range DPS in Noctis Plus. Hell, just like Mark said, with Aranea, you open up a whole box of worms when it comes to team building. You throw Aranea in, that's all you need for DPS. Irvine can supplement that, but as for a third slot, Warrior of Light can tank for them, and he has a ranged DPS skill in skill 2, his throw buckler. You throw in Rosa, huge support. Their healing complements each other, their aura complements each other, and her Brave and HP pluses plus her EX are ranged as well, so it enables that. Yuffie, anyone with even a partially ranged kit can fill in with as a third for Aranea and Irvine now. And I think that is really amazing. He's really being undersold, as Mark said. And the last thing I'll say is Final Verdict is viable only because range DPS is such a very specific niche that you have to build a full range team around, and you have to go out of your way. Because as we said, in the next 2.5 months, there are no range DPS coming. You're using what's available. You have to pull what's available. If you make a full range team, I think they're very strong. But the only reason I'm not rating him strong is because your options are limited, and he's not universally useful. But I think a very strong, viable rating is called for. And because people are asking, and I forgot, right, the last 2 ratings that I forgot to give, Rinoa, I will rate as weak, and Aranea, I will rate as weak.
Wait.
Well, interestingly enough, as you can imagine, although I think after my plea, I think these podcast polls will change. Only one person willing to pity this banner, no one using any gems, 28 people using tickets, and 24 saying they're going to skip. At least take your free pull. I mean, don't skip the banner. Seriously, people. Take your free pull. But yeah, not a lot of love. And again, is that because you... Listen, let's just take a minute. We're going to get to Dimensions End. Minu's already done it. Black Cloud's got a good thing about it. So the Tonberry Troupe did a good thing about it. But we're gonna hit Dimensions End Tier 7 here tonight too. Probably no time for questions or anything, but we'll do this. But just wait a second. So as you approach a new banner, are you really looking at the banner? Are you really looking at the characters? Are really seeing what they do for your kit, your team comps, your play style, or are you just kind of going on what the opinion was in Japan 8 months ago? Because that's not a good way to play, and that's what we've always said. Consider everything, take everything serious. Don't just should you pull, should you not pull. Because my should you pull is different than your should you pull. If you don't have Aranea, you don't have Noctis, you don't have King, you probably don't need Irvine. If you have all those other mages, you probably don't need Rinoa. But if you're lacking mages, and if you want this other option kind of as a third or a semi-support for your range characters, that's good. So Arrow is reminding us that Yuri's half ranged and half magic, and imperiling, and so adding an imperiler and to Aranea and Irvine is going to be interesting as well. Elemental thing. So Shara, there's a Japanese before Global was released, a Japanese exclusive game was released. They're several months ahead of us. They have a whole different tier of weapons, 2 different tier of weapons. They have a whole different tier of difficulty, and they are getting level 80 awakenings very soon. And there's a whole bunch of people who play that game who think they know things. And so we don't listen to their smart ass comments.
Yeah.
But seriously, listen to us. Because we are the only option you have right now where there are multiple voices. No, I'm serious. Where there are multiple voices coming together, giving different opinions on different characters every single week, and not just Chris, Mino, and myself, who often have different opinions, but bringing other people in, our friends from the Tonberry Troupe, and people like Jin and Strafe and Arrow, and Macnol and Quetz and so many, and all of our friends here on the show. And so that's good, expose yourself to some different things. It's like when you're in school, and especially when you're young and stupid, and you read somebody, I was a philosophy, religion, psychology major. So, you read somebody's philosophy and you're like, oh, this is the most amazing thing, I've ever thought about. And, you want to just throw up all of the things that you just read. You got to read then something else, right? You have to then experience some other opinions and work on some other opinions. And that's tough in our world today. We don't like to kind of listen to the other side. We don't like to look at other perspectives. We want everything very simple. This is what's right. This is what's wrong. And that's not how the world is, friends. So look at the freaking banners. Look at your own stuff. Look inside your soul. And just pity Irvine, for God's sake. That's all I'm trying to say. Pity Irvine. Okay.
One sentence add-on. I promise. One sentence add-on. Mark hit it on the head. A lot of people are judging by JP standards only. Aranea honestly changes the entire playing field. Please do not dismiss them just because they're bad in JP like Irvine and Lulu moving forward. I'm going to say that. Please don't just say, oh, this is what Ultima fucking says. I'm sick of that shit with other content creators. All right, done.
I am not drunk. I have not had alcohol for
Marcus
months.
Drunk. That is the most out of character rant I have ever heard him made on this podcast.
I am literally
he yelled at me behind scenes for ranting too long, and
this is Coke. This is
very
water.
Opinionated, and yet he just took a very opinionated rant. Right now, I'm calling him out on this shit.
So Dimensions End Tier 7 just launched as we were doing. So Mino, you already had the chance to do this. Again, Tonberry Troupe has a great walkthrough. Black Cloud has a good walkthrough on YouTube as well. But Mino, you've got firsthand experience, so kind of walk us through the fight, and we'll come back to it next week as well. But let us know what's going on in Tier 7, Dimensions End Entropy.
I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. First wave is a trash wave with a bunch of debuffs. Every wave on this fight has a lot of debuffs. They're clearly pushing Ignis for debuff immunity.
Yeah.
I believe that. And they push... second wave is Rose's Beetle, so if you break, you die. So clearly Zack and Ignis are forefront in this. If you have both of them and a supplementary character, you will do fine. First wave, you can kill off really quick. Second wave is Rose's Beetles, as I said. As usual, just do not take any breaks at all or you will die. Pay attention to when they're AoE. And just keep your brave up. Whittle them down both equally, and you should be okay. This is the tankiest wave.
Yeah.
Third wave is not as tanky, so feel free to go all out on the second wave. The third wave, though, has a deceptive heal, and I'm so sick of Entropy doing this because I don't like to do research, and I always get caught off guard by this. But this boss will take a certain amount of damage before it heals itself up to full HP again. And I am so sick of this crap because I'm pretty sure Tier 6 did it, so I wasted a lot of skills. But if you whittle it down, it is the... I don't know what event this is from, if you guys can help me out. It's the behemoth that stands on its hind legs.
Oh, have we had a behemoth that stands on its hind legs like in 13?
On story. Yeah, on story.
Okay.
First story chapter with Kaya, I think he pulls out a sword from his back and it stands on his side.
It's a Final Fantasy 13 enemy.
Yes.
It's from the first chapter of Arc Season 2, I think.
Thank you. So it's a Chaos version of Arc 2 Season Chapter 1. As Dreamy said, the behemoth basically stands up, and the behemoth regularly does an ability silence on the character with the most HP. So this is very manipulable if you want to do it. You can bring in a big heavy tank to take it and they have nothing, I use Zack, right? His HP plus plus was fine. He didn't need any abilities. Or a lot of people are saying you can bring 8, manipulate HP, and he'll dodge and counter the entire time. Just know that the ability silence always targets the highest HP. It's completely workable. He gives himself a big brave boost if he breaks as well, so be careful of that. And he is considerably squishier than the second wave, so feel free to go full burn. As I've seen on my friends list, this seems to be a very easy fight because a lot of people on my friends list already had the platinum plate, and much faster than they got the gold plate again when tier 6 came out. Tier 7 seems to be very squishy. We have a lot of stronger characters. It's very easy to just summon and burn as well. I suggest saving Aranea, but if you want to use her, go for it. That'd probably trivialize the fight insanely. And just a personal note is I brought Yuffie as a debuff cleanser. You really do not need to cleanse debuffs, honestly. You can power through these debuffs very easily. Even the ability silence, like I said, Warrior of Light and Zack can use HP and still do full damage even while silenced. This fight was not very difficult. I feel it was very hyped. I say that again, I don't want to talk about fights. I have a lot of meta characters, but Yuffie felt like a very perfect match for this because she had gravity for whenever the boss is spiked. She can throw debuffs back. I'm very surprised I did not see her more on the clears. She had like 1 or 2 recorded clears in JP. Maybe nobody pulled her, but she felt perfect for this.
Yeah, Magnol saying since Aranea is not good for tier 8, although you could bring her with Imperil, right? Anyway, if you have some enchanters, I mean, throw her on here. She is good for tier 9 potentially. So, but as Magnol says, that's a problem for future Magnol. So she's a good option. But yeah, as you mentioned, 8's a real good option here if you can manipulate the HP. Obviously, debuff evasion deals with that. Yuna's not a real good option because she cannot cleanse the debuff, the ability
and
silence.
And just fat HP for some reason. Yeah. Highest HP value in the game.
But she can't cleanse yet, so it's going to target her. It's going to target her, and she can't use Asuna because she's ability silence. So kind of sucks. So thank you, Black Cloud. He had that insight. But so good luck, everybody. Macnol's going to put the call to arms out there, so there's going to be lots of different team comps. If you're still working on lower tiers, no problem. Hey, it's permanent content. We have a lot of things going. Moving into the next tier, it is all about enchanting and element, overcoming element resistance and all resistance, resist all. So we'll get there. But for now, yes, tanking, debuff evasion, decent DPS, and some careful plays. And it sounds like this is actually a fairly reasonable sphere and tier, maybe because we have some pretty powerful characters at our disposal, including a very powerful tank that many people pulled on and a very powerful ranged DPS called Aranea. I'm gonna bring Irvine. No, I'm not, but we'll find a place for Irvine very soon. All right, gentlemen. Wow, it's been a great show. Thank you. Hey, everybody, for sticking along with us. Thank you so much. Dreamy, how can we get in contact with you? Anything you want to share with us? Anything you want to hype or promote today? Thanks for being with us, first of all. Thanks for staying up. It's stupid early for you. So thanks. But yeah, any way we can get in touch with you or anything you want to share, Dreamy?
Well, thank you first for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I always love to listen to this show. I can't stay much. Yeah, it's 5 a.m. right now. So yeah, I can't stay always, but I appreciate it. Just want to make a shout out to the whole Tonberry Troupe for being an amazing group, for making infographics being so much fun. And I thank the community for being such an amazing group, solidary community with all those content creators like Crystal Chronicles, ourselves, and so many others, Call to Arms. I just love how everything comes together And yeah, if you want to chat with us, we're mostly on the Crystal Chronicles Discord. You can also find us on Materia Bot Discord. So yeah, be sure to hop on if you want to talk with us. We do a lot of memes. You might have seen my stupid monstrosity characters that I make sometimes. But yeah, we're having a lot of fun, and be sure to join if you want to share the fun with us. Thank you.
Yeah, make sure to, certainly you can talk to all the Tonberry Troupe members on our Discord. They're all there. But yeah, make sure to follow them on Facebook and Twitter. And I always share their things on my Twitter or the Crystal Chronicles Twitter and the Crystal Chronicles Facebook as well. And they share a lot of their stuff on Reddit as well. So yeah, thank you very much, Dreamy, for being with us. And we thank the Tonberry Troupe for all the good work they do and continue to do. Can we hold the discussion on the bounty board until next week until we get a little bit more idea about where we want to go with that? Mino, is that okay? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we're not going to go into host discussion. Thank you all. You can post your questions at our Discord under podcast questions. We will get to them on weeks when we don't have 400 things to cover. But looking ahead on the 23rd, we have Gao's event, Wild Child of the Veldt. Is that how you say that? Veldt? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 24th, which is Monday, is the next Squex community stream. So make sure you check out that. It's usually about 3:30 Central Standard Time for us. So whatever that is your time. On Monday, the 24th, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be cooking spaghetti for 120 people. So I'll be watching that while I'm doing that. And so enjoy that. And Josh and Glacy, who are usually there, do a wonderful job. And tell us about what's coming forward. We do believe by the end of the month, we will have the 8th Awakening Wave and Heretic Quest to go along with that. And then moving forward into next month, we expect Lulu's LC, Kamalama Ding Dong's event, Pandemonium, Ultimate Pandemonium, the World of Final Fantasy Twins, and some other guy from Final Fantasy, 11? I don't even remember what that character does in this
How
game.
dare you! I guess I'm covering his kit. I think I'm the only person here who even played
Which
11.
character?
Kamlanot?
No,
Oh
not
God.
I've played
Kamlanot.
11. I don't remember Kamlanot, though.
No, Kamlanot's from Searon. I don't know who that is. That's another character.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
Crystal
Crystal
Chronicles.
Chronicles. Get that shit out of here.
Well,
Wait,
that's
is Kamlanot
from the
not
name
next
of our podcast. Yeah, he's from one of our.
Kamlanot is the beginning of next month. Saron's the end of next month, according to JP timeline.
Kieran.
Yeah,
I'm
El
gonna put that out
Nacho's brother. Yeah, yeah, it's good. We will
Did
have
you just say El Nacho?
El Nacho's brother. Yeah.
Can we end this podcast? Let's end it.
Hey, we want to thank everybody for joining us. You can find out all about us at tccpodcast.com. You can get links to our Discord, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. I will link in the show notes the Tonberry Troupe's Flickr account with all the beautiful infographics, including the characters we talked about tonight, Macnol's Call to Arms, including the events we have talked about, and the event that is currently the Dimensions End is also available. So thank you. Thank you, Dreamy. Thank you, Kreese. Thank you, Mino. Thank you, everyone online. Best of luck to all of you, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.